December 29th, 2019. That's the last time a capacity crowd filled the seats at Empower Field at Mile High. But that changes this weekend. Teddy Bridgewater, Von Miller, and the Broncos bringing a 2-0 record back to Denver for the season opener as they look to beat the Jets and make it 3 straight to start the 2021 season. Welcome into Broncos Weekend, everybody. I'm Matt Boyer alongside Alexis Perry and the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater, still in the gold jacket. Steve, looking good.
Thank you, Matt. Hey, as long as we keep winning, we got to keep pulling this gold jacket out.
I like it. Guys, last time the Broncos started 2-0, they finished the season 6-10. That was 2018.
Why'd you have to bring that up?
I know. But to Teddy Bridgewater's credit, he said this week, you can't take the cheese. It's rat poison. Don't do it, is what one of his mentors texted him this week. Alexis, let's talk about that quarterback matchup. Speaking of Teddy Bridgewater, he and Zach Wilson head-to-head in this one. You couldn't really ask Teddy Bridgewater to be much better than he's been so far. The only criticism was that didn't get off to a fast start or as fast as he wanted to. So how does he dial in those fast starts come Sunday?
Well, seriously, Matt, I really don't think Teddy Bridgewater needs to dial in anything. I don't think he needs to change anything at all. He's the best deep ball passer in the league through 2 weeks. He's playing smart. He's taking care of the football, and he's completing practically every single pass. And for what it's worth, fast starts aren't just about opening drives. They're about going out there, establishing some energy, and attacking the opposing defense. While the Broncos were playing from behind after Trevor Lawrence perfectly executed that scripted first drive on Sunday, I will say Teddy Bridgewater then responded with a 9-minute drive of his own. And while we all know he would prefer for that drive to end in a touchdown rather than a field goal, he went out and he's establishing tempo. He's establishing pace of play. And for what it's worth, I feel like that is just as important given the fact that that plays dividends throughout all 4 quarters.
Steve, last week the Broncos took care of business against a rookie quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. This week against Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson last week, I mean, that outing was rough against the Patriots. No touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Denver had success last week against Lawrence, so how do they duplicate it against Wilson?
Yeah, hopefully they're not licking their chops too much. But I like them to really go out and approach this game the same way they approached Trevor Lawrence. That is, those guys playing good zone coverage, bringing pressure when you have to, but mostly 4-man rushes, some 5-man rushes mixed in there. Linebackers getting the proper depth, and then the guys on the back end just playing really good man-to-man coverage. That's going to pose problems for him. He had problems against the New England Patriots. He couldn't find the open man. He found the other defensive players more so than he did the open receiver. So I think we can come out with a very similar game plan. I think we can have that same type of success this week. Lawrence
only had 118 yards against the Broncos last week, so Vic Fangio and Ed Donatell would be just fine if those numbers were replicated here on Sunday. Let's take a look at a couple of the weapons that are going to be at each of these quarterbacks' disposals here. Corey Davis on the outside for the Jets. For the Broncos, obviously, Cortland Sutton coming off a career day last week. Still looking for his first touchdown of 2021, though. So, Alexis, what are some of the signs that he is back on track to Pro Bowl form?
Well, it may not seem like he's totally back to pre-injury form, and I'm not really sure if he ever will be. A torn ACL is a really serious injury, but if this is Cortland Sutton at 90%, then I think opposing defenses should be absolutely terrified. When we think back to that 2019 season, his best performance that year came week 1 in Oakland. He had 7 catches for 120 yards. Obviously, we know what he's done so far this season. He is already on pace for over 85 receptions and 1,400 receiving yards this season. So if he could really maintain this play that we've seen throughout these first 2 weeks, especially week 2, obviously, in Jacksonville, I think a Pro Bowl nod just isn't even in question for Cortland Sutton this year. He's already leading the league in air yards this season. So, I mean, this is really just tip of the iceberg for Cortland Sutton. We all know Cecil Lammey loves that, so we'll hear from him a little bit later. But tip of the iceberg for Cortland Sutton. Look forward to big things from him this Sunday.
The nation is going to have to take notice of number 14 in orange and blue. Steve, on the flip side, Corey Davis is a big target. We saw what he can do against the Broncos last season when he was playing for Tennessee, but the Broncos last week were able to limit DJ Chark. PS2 played well. Kyle Fuller played well on the outside. So what did those two guys show you last week, Fuller and Surtain specifically, and how can they replicate that performance here this week?
Well, they showed me that they play well together, that they know the defenses, that they know where their help is. They did a good job of getting Pat Surtain II up to speed quickly. Pat Surtain II came out and played really good man-to-man coverage. You saw a couple double moves that they tried on him. He was right there with them step for step, running with them downfield and then actually making the play on the ball to get the interception, getting the toe tap down to get both feet in. Just an amazing play by him. But those guys are playing well together, good leadership. The only thing we have to do is stay healthy.
Last week, PS2 getting his first pick. On the opposite side of the spectrum, Kareem Jackson getting his 20th interception of his career as we take a look at the safety matchup this week, Marcus Maye and Kareem Jackson. Steve, hindsight's 2020, but it looks like a great decision by the Broncos to bring back Kareem Jackson for 2021. Why do you think he's continued to be so effective?
Well, I think Kareem Jackson, he's the ultimate professional, right? I mean, he takes care of his body in the offseason, does a good job of staying in shape. He's physical, he's strong, and I think that he takes his leadership role on this team very seriously. It's important to him that he's teaching the younger guys his mentality,
right,
what he prepares, to make sure that they're doing the same thing to make us be the best that we can be.
On the flip side, Alexis, Marcus Maye, 11 PBUs in 2020. The Jets have been pretty aggressive with their safeties and their DBs, so how do the Broncos neutralize that pass defense from the Jets?
I feel like this week going up against the Jets, the best way to continue their offensive dominance like we've seen the first 2 weeks of the season is to continue utilizing 13 personnel. Now, 18% of the Broncos plays this season have been in 13 personnel, which is a huge leap from what we saw last year. And so it's also helping the run game as well. So when you have 3 guys blocking, the Broncos are averaging more than 6.5 yards per carry. So, like you guys think back to that Javonte Williams stiff arm first down play against the Jags, that was in 13 personnel. Melvin Gordon, when he ripped off that 70-yard run against the New York Giants, that was in 13 personnel. So I really think 13 personnel is working really well for Pat Shurmur and this Broncos offense. And if they continue doing that, I think Maye will be a guy that we won't really see on the stat sheet this week.
Javonte Williams looking to prove a little something against his college teammate Michael Carter on the other side for the Jets. Who will be the best UNC running back? If Williams has anything to say about it, I'm sure that he's going to be looking forward to that matchup. We've got to take a quick break. When we come back on Broncos Weekend, the Broncos and Jets go way back with each other. We'll show you some of the best moments from these two historic franchises dating back to their AFL days. Plus, we'll take a closer look at 2 defenders with a lot to prove this weekend. That's next. The Broncos and Jets have history dating back to the Broncos' first season in 1960, when the Jets were then known as the New York Titans. Denver's first victory over New York came in 1961, setting the foundation for what is now a 21-16-1 record all-time against the Jets. Despite all that history, these two teams have only met one time in the playoffs. During their 1998 playoff run, Denver beat the Jets 23-10 at home in the AFC Championship game and raised the Lamar Hunt Trophy en route to their second Super Bowl title weeks later.
Well, Bailey's got it. Did he have both feet in bounds? Yes, he did.
Defense has been a hallmark of this rivalry in recent years. In the past 20 seasons, the Broncos have shut out the Jets twice at home. The first time in 2005 and most recently in their last meeting in Denver.
And he is hit and pulled down as he backpedals away from center, and that's Shelby Harris.
In 2017, Von Miller and Shelby Harris helped the Broncos sack Jets quarterback Josh McCown 4 times on their way to a 23-0 victory. A win on Sunday would keep the Broncos unbeaten at home against the Jets since 2010. The AFL, Tebow Mania, and AFC Championship game. This series has everything. Welcome back to Broncos Weekend, everybody. Okay, Steve, you were on both sides of this rivalry here. What were those Jets and Broncos matchups like, though, in the mid-90s?
Well, those were some great matchups, great competition, great teams, and a lot of great coaches. As you know, the Bill Belichick tree goes deep, and also the Mike Shanahan tree goes deep. So a lot of great coaches now that develop from those teams.
Steve, we got to talk about it. You wore the orange and blue in this rivalry. You were also on that opposing sideline in green and white. So I got to ask, how awkward was it for you to be on that opposing sideline for that one game?
That was extremely difficult to have played 10 years here in Denver and then to be on the opposing sideline, looking up at the flag from the wrong side. I had tears coming down my eyes. It was a super emotional day, but we got through it. And, unfortunately, that's the day that TD got hurt. So that whole day was you know, we got to win as the New York Jets, but I didn't feel good about it.
That's okay. I'm glad you're back in orange and blue, though.
So am I.
Steve, you know better than most that this matchup between the Jets and the Broncos has a lot to do with defense, especially in Mile High. And with Bradley Chubb being out 6 to 8 weeks potentially, the Broncos are going to be leaning heavily on outside linebacker Malik Reed, the guy they call the dream killer, to help maintain this Denver defense.
I feel like it's been good, with the opportunities that's been provided and, taking advantage of those things.
Holmes drops the throw. He's going to be hit and sacked, and that's Malik Reed.
It's always tough, injuries. That's the nature of the NFL. And, a guy like Chubb, who's, like my brother, it's hard to, see him go down in that way.
And that is Malik Reed, able to come off the edge and get a big sack.
Having all those, snaps under my belt, and seeing so many different offenses and just being more comfortable out there with having all those snaps and being able to anticipate things and react just that much faster while you're out there on the field.
Malik has done everything to show people that he's a starter in this league. I think this is his third year. Malik has the full package. He can rush the passer, he can play the run. He's like I said before, he's starting this league multiple times. He's a force. You gotta look for him whenever he's on the football field.
Tua will be hit in the pocket, pulled down, and sacked back at the 17-yard line.
First year, was a lot of learning on the fly. A lot of opportunities earlier on, and those Sundays come quick. Like I said, those snaps and those just getting that knowledge from the past 2 years, I feel like has spoke volumes for my game, and look forward to it.
Steve, you never want to see a guy hurt, but at this position, outside linebacker, with a guy like Malik Reed having so many starts already, led the team in sacks last year, this is a good position for the Broncos to be in. How valuable is Reed to this defense?
I think Malik Reed has shown his value to his team. He's proven it with Von Miller going down, and then with Bradley Chubb going down a couple of years ago. He stepped in and really did a fine job of, getting sacks, getting pressures, containing on the edge, doing all the things that good edge rushers do. And he plays special teams. He contributes on special teams. I think that's something that some of the younger players on the team can look at and say, man, this is a pretty good formula for getting on the field, being effective on special teams and being able to play and contribute.
Steve, Reed is going to contribute. Hopefully the Broncos get Bradley Chubb back within that 6 to 8 week time frame that Vic Fangio mentioned. Unfortunately for the Broncos defense, Josie Jewell at inside linebacker out for the year with a torn pectoral muscle. In steps Justin Strnad. So, Steve, when you replace an inside linebacker, the guy who's almost like a captain of the defense where he's relaying the play call, how does replacing an inside linebacker impact the Broncos? Yeah,
first off, our best wishes to Josie Jewell. But, man, I think that we're going to miss him in terms of the communication aspect of it, especially early on. But as time goes on, because Josie Jewell is out for the entire season, the communication will get better. And when he got into the game last week, I thought that he did a pretty good job. He and Alexander Johnson of communicating, being on the same page and flying around to the ball. I don't think the level of play will drop off that much because this guy can run, he can hit, he's physical, and I think that's exactly what we need to fill in for a loss like that with Josie Jewell.
The Jets' offense ranks 25th in the league, Steve. So while you don't want to underestimate any team, getting that communication and that cohesion going this week against an opponent like that, when you've got the Ravens, the Raiders, and the Browns upcoming, the Broncos may benefit from the timing of this just a bit. When we come back on Broncos Weekend, Alexis is chatting with Cecil Lammey about why Broncos country should believe this 2-0 start from Teddy Bridgewater and company is no fluke. Plus, Steve is back giving us his keys to the game. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Broncos Weekend, everybody. Can the Broncos reach their first 3-0 start with Teddy Bridgewater since 2016? And can they vanquish another highly touted rookie quarterback? Those are just some of the tough questions that Alexis Perry is asking our good friend, Cecil Lammey.
Thanks so much, Matt. That's right. I am here with my good friend, Cecil Lammey. It's been far too long since I've seen you and talk a little bit of Broncos football. Teddy Bridgewater, he has been nothing short of magnificent throughout his first 2 starts here with the Broncos. So what is it about the way that Pat Shurmur is running this offense that's really playing into his strengths?
Well, I think that Shermer is bringing the best out of Teddy Bridgewater because it's full field reads.
Yes.
It's using the entire playbook and using the entire field, not just short dump offs that some people had a misconception about Teddy. Oh, he's going to be the safe guy. He's going to take the short routes. No, he's going to take the deep routes as well. Who's Teddy Bridgewater's favorite guy? The open guy, and that's what Pat Shermer is able to capitalize on and really utilize the best of Teddy Bridgewater.
Well, we saw Noah Fant in Jacksonville. He barreled his way into the end zone for his first touchdown since that Bills game in 2020. What is it about Noah Fant's game right now that you've seen the biggest improvement in, and how do you think you'll see the Broncos utilize him on Sunday against the Jets?
Now, I know we're all kind of used to everyone making an instant impact in the NFL, but tight end is different. It's a complex position. You've got to learn the blocking side, which Fant had to work on. You have to learn the route running side. This isn't just sitting down in a soft spot of a zone like you do in college where there's a lot of open space to work with. So when I watched Noah Fant this year, and we saw it coming.
Yeah.
We knew this from training camp. We saw that Noah Fant was becoming a precise route runner, very sharp in what he does, those crisp cuts to get open. Also using some guile, kind of fooling guys, also giving him the dead leg, taking it away, getting to those open spots on the field. And again, Teddy Bridgewater finding him. So the precision within Shermer's offense is coming through because Noah Fant is being a precise player himself.
Well, as for the New York Jets, Zach Wilson, the rookie quarterback there for them, he is yet to find his footing in the NFL through 2 weeks. He struggled mightily Sunday against the Patriots. But like Von Miller said on Thursday, you cannot overlook these rookies in the NFL. So how does Denver's defense neutralize Zach Wilson and that Jets offense?
The key for Zach Wilson is pressure. And we all know that Vic Fangio is going to bring lots of pressure for this young quarterback. And he's not Pat Mahomes. For the love of God, before the draft, it drove me crazy when people would watch like one game of BYU and be like, he's like Pat Mahomes. Now, he does have some magician to his game.
Yes.
So you have to be very careful with Zach Wilson because he can make something out of nothing. He can keep the play alive with his legs while keeping his eyes downfield. He can make off-platform throws like Mahomes. Reminds me more of a potentially better version of Baker Mayfield. But, you know, you've got to contain this guy. You've got to pressure this guy because just like in college, you see it in the first 2 games of the pros, pressure kind of rattles him. He tries to freelance. He gets a little too cute with his arm. If you're doing that, which Vic Fangio will, it's advantage Broncos.
Well, obviously, the Broncos are dealing with some serious injuries to some of their starters, from Bradley Chubb to Ronald Darby, Josie Jewell, Jerry Jeudy. The backups are going to be called upon to really have a big game, especially this Sunday against the Jets. So which backup do you think will have the biggest game?
This is Malik Reed. I mean, the Broncos for years have been able to find undrafted talent that turn into starters and stars in the NFL. I mean, it's just they've got this weird knack for doing it. Other teams don't. Malik Reed is that guy. You pick up undrafted a few years ago. We've seen him as a starter. He's got plenty of starting experience. He's going to come in, and the inside word is that the Jets are really concerned about their offensive line. Well, yeah, they should be because they're struggling. It doesn't matter who's healthy, who's not for the Jets up front. They're poor up front on the offensive line. This is a time where Malik Reed can feast and show the Broncos, you know, why they have so much confidence in him. He is a backup, but he can play like a starter and maybe, you know, have a couple of sacks. I'd put the number at least 1 and might go over that. A couple of sacks on Sunday sounds nice to me.
Seems like Justin Strnad, though, he's going to have a big game on Sunday as well.
Yeah, and I know the Broncos like Strnad. You should like Strnad.
Yes.
There's a lot to like about his game. He's very athletic, but very smart. You know, we see the intelligence from a Josie Jewell, a guy who can anticipate very well. Justin Strnad is not Josie Jewell, but he is smart like Josie Jewell, so he'll be able to anticipate, and that puts yourself in the right position when a play breaks down in front of you as you're diagnosing. You can scrape and flow and get to the ball, avoid those big blockers up front, and then make that tackle or make that play in coverage, and I have full confidence that Justin Strnad will be able to do that.
What's the most glaring mismatch this week?
It's Noah Fant. Noah Fant. I mean, you've got Marcus May, who's a very talented safety there, and they kind of move him all around, a little bit of a joker or a robber, some people call. But when you look at May against Noah Fant, I'm taking Fant 10 times out of 10. And as great as May is, and I liked him when he came out of college as well, with the same class as Jamal Adams, same team that was drafted. I look at this and I go, Noah Fant's too big, too fast, too physical, and you can use that. Use 13 personnel, get Noah Fant in these one-on-one situations, and use what I call a seam ripper. Go up that deep middle seam, let Noah Fant take the top off the defense from the middle. Usually we think of that on the outside. It can be from the middle, and Noah Fant can be that guy.
Okay, I cannot have you come in studio and not get some fantasy football advice. So, as someone like me who owns both Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, I really struggled week in and week out trying to decide who to start given the split carries. So, is this a Melvin Gordon week or a Javonte Williams week?
Well, as we all know, Javonte Williams was my #1 running back in this class, so yes, I'm a little bit biased, but I love J-Dub in this matchup. I love Pookie in this matchup because it's against his former college teammate, Michael Carter. So it's kind of going to be like, okay, what can Carter do? Probably not a lot against the Broncos. What can Williams do? And each week, this committee keeps both backs fresh. I like that from a fantasy perspective. Split time equals split headache for fantasy GMs, but I think it's Williams week, that little teammate rivalry he'll have with Carter, and the fact that he's got that nose for the end zone. I could see him have 100 yards on Sunday.
Oh, Cecil, thank you so much for coming in today. We really, really appreciate it. As always, follow him on Twitter at Cecil Lammey, and I think your radio show has a new time. You can start at
6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Nick and Cecil on The Fan.
We love it. Thank you so much. Matt, back over to you.
Thank you, Alexis. Okay, Steve. Let's get to your keys to the game now. What's it going to take for the Broncos to keep you in that gold jacket for another week?
Well, Matt, first off, you never want to throw a struggling quarterback a life preserver, right? You want to throw him a couple of bags of sand. And how we do that this week with Zach Wilson is, one, we keep him contained in the pocket. He has trouble when he's in the pocket reading the different defenses, and continue to, hey, linebackers get the proper depth. Guys play good man-to-man coverage on the outside just like we did last week. We'll be fine taking care of him. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, we got to block John Franklin Myers and Quentin Williams. They both have 6 pressures. John Franklin Myers has 2 sacks. Make sure we keep them at bay. The rest of the guys, I think, will be fine.
For me, Steve, the Broncos 10 penalties against the Jags. Vic Fangio said that's too much. Eliminate some of the penalties. Don't give, like you said, the Jets any type of free opportunities. The other thing, take care of the football. Teddy Bridgewater has the chance to be in rarefied air, Steve. Teddy Bridgewater can become only the 2nd quarterback in Broncos history with 3 consecutive games with a completion percentage above 75. The other, 2013 Peyton Manning, Steve, and what a vintage year that was. If Bridgewater can sustain some drives with a high completion percentage once again, take care of the football, eliminate those penalties, I don't see any other way that the Broncos don't come out with a win. Do you?
Bring back the dub. We'll have this gold jacket on again one more time.
There we go. Week 4 gold jacket. I like it. All right, that's going to do it for us on Broncos Weekend. Special thanks to Cecil Lammey and Alexis Perry for the gold jacket clad Hall of Famer, Mr. Steve Atwater. I'm Matt Boyer. So long, Broncos country. We will see you next week.